Hello, I'm Stephen Burns, and we're going to take our exploration for the advanced class into the connection between channels, selections, and masks. Now, for my beginning class, I've always taught you guys that the key to mastering Photoshop is mastering selections, and that selections and masks are exactly the same thing. We're going to add something a little new to this equation, as we did in the first video, which is the key to mastering Photoshop is mastering selections, and selections, channels, and masks are exactly the same thing. And we're going to continue to explore this concept. Let's go ahead and duplicate our layer. You always make that a habit to do in Photoshop. And we're going to take a look at the masks here, the red, green, and blue properties. Now, the goal here is to actually replace this sky, which is fairly boring, with another one of our choice. Now, what we need to do is we need to take out the sky content that's there, but we're not going to do it using selection tools, okay? And the selection tools we often use on a regular basis on our toolbar, but instead we're going to use our channels. And we're going to take a look at the channels, and we're going to discover which one is going to give us the best separation between our subject that we want to keep and everything else that we want to get rid of. Now, this image is a fairly simple image, but I prefer you to work with simplistic images in terms of isolating your foreground and background, just so that you can learn the concept of what we're trying to do. Let's not make it too complicated at this point. Alright, so we're going to hit the red channel. We're going to take a look at the properties of the red channel. We're going to find out which one's going to separate the foreground and background information the best. The green channel and the blue channel. Now, they all look like they might work pretty well, but let's take a look at the tonal properties within the architecture here. And I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so that we can see it together a little more closely. If you hit the red channel, there's more contrast because the red channel harbors the contrast on our image. So if we start utilizing or adjusting our masks, or to pull a mask on one of these channels, it could be problematic because of the extra contrast that's in here. If we look at the green channel, there's less contrast, everything's a little bit more consolidated, and that may work a little better. But if we hit the blue channel, the blue seems to work a lot better than the other two. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate that, drag the icon to the new layer icon, and we have the blue copy, and this is the one we're going to work on. Alright, now there's two ways we're going to handle this, and the first way is we're going to use our curves to pull a mask from this particular image. I'm going to hit Control M, and here we have our curves dialog box. I'm going to set this up here to the top left hand corner. And on the bottom left hand corner, you'll see a little icon that's going to allow you to actually lay down points. Now, in previous versions of Photoshop, you had to hold down the Command or the Control key to actually place a point on here. Now, let me deselect it. Now, what's happening as I'm clicking and holding on this image, you'll see right over here on the curve is that it's showing you exactly where that tonality is sitting on the curve, and of course we can see the histogram within here in relationship to it. Now, what I would like to do is lay down a point. Now, Command or Control click is what we used to do in previous versions of Photoshop. We can still do that here. However, we have another little icon which will actually lay points down for you. And I'm going to Control click on the white, and as you can see, it puts a icon right on the white. And I'm going to Control click right over here on a light, on a tonality that's going to separate my sky from my subject, and I'm going to put it right there, and as I clicked it, we can see it right over in here. Now, I'm going to unclick this here, and we're going to pull the tonality between the sky and our architecture further apart. And if I click and hold on the icon and pull it straight down, you can see we pull the mask from there very, very quickly. And watch what happens as I pull this back over just a little bit. Let's go ahead and get that again. There we are. We pull it on over to this side, and we put a little closer. We get a little sharper black. Okay. There it is. Okay. So I'm not going to get greedy. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now we have our basic mask applied. Now all I need to do is, as we can see in here, I'm going to hit the Control and Alt together, or control, actually not Control and Alt, but the Option and Space bar together, and that's going to give me my zoom tool. As I click and hold and move the mouse left to right or diagonally, it will give you a nice smooth transition for zooming. Space bar, moving on over, we can see that we have some darker midtones in here still available. There's some texture. I don't want this information to exist. I basically want one area to be black, the other area is going to be white. Obviously the sky is going to be white because it's easier to adjust it that way, being that the sky has already been fairly bright tonalities. So what I'm going to do is this: select the burn tool, select shadows in your option bar, make sure your exposure is on 100%, and I'm going to do is quickly paint it out. Paint out those areas, paint it, there it is. Okay, very quickly. Now we have a mask. If we look very closely in here, I'm hitting Option and Space bar and Control. We have some areas in there that need to be a little bit darker. That's not a big deal. So what we're going to do, I'm going to hold the Option or the Alt key down with the right click and drag, and that will resize my mouse. And we were able to do that. We can do that now in CS5. I believe we were able to do it in CS4 as well. And as I use my burn tool, I'm going to continue to burn down those edges right in there very quickly. Alright, quickly do it. Now I want to pull out some of the highlights in between. We can see there's some sky highlights. So what we'll do is we'll grab the dodge tool, make sure highlights is selected, make sure your exposure is up to 100%. I'm going to resize it. We used to use the bracket to the left and bracket to the right, but now we can use the Option or Alt with a right click and drag across. And I'm going to just brighten up these areas in here using my space bar once again to kind of navigate me around. There it is. Okay. Alright, so now let's go ahead and make sure it's nice and white. And Command 0, not Command O, but Command 0. There it is. We have our mask. Now, just very quickly, I'm going to go back to my burn tool and just make sure that I burn this little area right in there. That looks pretty good. Alright, so what was that area I was actually working on? That was some sort of a high-rise lift there, as you can see. And I'm going to take this back down. Let's move the channels back on over. Alright, so what we want to do now is place this mask into this layer. Let's go ahead and highlight the RGB composite. And if we take a look once again at our mask that we've just created, the areas that are white are the areas that will be kept. The areas that are black are the areas that will be masked out. So I want to keep the building. So in this example, I really want this to be inverse. Command or Control I, right on the mask, it inverses it. Now what I'm going to do is, you can see right down here in the bottom, we have a little bit of a problem. Not a problem. Why? Because we have our dodge tool, and we can just dodge that on out. You can also use your paintbrush and paint with white in there. Either way will work. Okay, let's bring that down just a little bit. Alright, we have them inversed. Go to our RGB composite. All I'm going to do is this. Command or Control click right on the mask. That's the shortcut for giving you a selection or pulling a selection from your mask. Now, with this selection activated, right down here on the bottom of your layers palette, third icon from the left, and we're going to make a layer mask. It's going to honor what we have in the selections, and there it is. If I turn off the one on the bottom, we've pulled a mask, and it's pretty clean looking too. If we just get in a little closer and take a look at the edges, let's get in even closer and see, look at that. Very clean. Okay, I hope that this tutorial is helpful. And what I'm going to show you in the next one is how to pull a mask using a different approach in Photoshop.